Jai Shri Radhe. Continuing with the stories of the 252 Vaishnav disciples of Sri Gosaiji, today is day 141 and Varta 121, the story of one 12-year-old Vrajbhasi boy from Sakarava. Bhav Prakash. He is a devotee of Tamasi disposition. In the eternal Leela, his name is Manorupa, who looks after Sri Nandaraji's house. She manifests from Nagari and is thus a form of her divine loving sentiment. He was born into a family of Gujars in the village of Sakarava. He began to farm when he was only 12 years old. He knew how to dig the ground using a plough as well as all the other tasks. Once a renunciate Vaishnava came to his house to beg for food, and the boy gave him 2 handfuls of grain. The renunciate then gave 1 handful to another holy man. The boy saw this and asked him, "Why did you give away grains to another? I could have given him some as well." Then the renunciate replied, "Farming for grain causes the deaths of many small creatures and insects. Therefore one should always share grain in order to minutely diminish the effect of such an impure action." The boy pondered, "From today onwards I should not engage myself in such work that causes harm to other creatures." He asked the renunciate Vaishnava, "From today I shall no longer do such work. Please now tell me how I may become uplifted." The renunciate said, "Go to Jetipura and become the disciple of Sri Gosaiji. Serve Sri Govardhanaji. This is how your soul will be saved." The boy left Sakarava and travelled to Jetipura, where he took initiation with the Lord's name and thus became Sri Gosaiji's disciple. Part 1. When he had been initiated, the boy requested Sri Gosaiji, "O Maharaj, please give me some service that I may do for you." Sri Gosaiji told him to stand guard over Srinathji's fields where chickpeas were being grown. He also told the manager of the store to send him packed lunch of Srinathji's Mahaprasad in the fields every day. In the spring, the crop was ready. A group of Vaishnavas arrived in the temple that day, and the manager was busy looking after them, and he forgot to send the boy's Mahaprasad to the fields. The boy felt very hungry and felt very annoyed and was swearing. Sri Govardhanaji took on the form of a 10-year-old boy and came to him saying, "Why don't you eat some of the chickpeas if you are hungry? What is the point of sitting here swearing?" The Vrajbhasi boy piped up, "How can I eat these chickpeas? They belong to Sri Nathji, Dev Daman." Later on in the evening, Sri Nathji assumed the form of a youth, came to the boy as he looked after the fields and said, "Please give me some of these chickpeas to eat." The Vrajbhasi boy swore at him and said, "If you touch them, then it's up to you, but I will beat you." Meanwhile, in the temple, Sri Gosaiji completed Sri Govardhanaji's Seva up to the nighttime arati and the Lord settling in to take rest. He then came down from the temple and went to sit in his betak, where he conducted some divine discussions into the night until he went to sleep. Sri Govardhanaji went to Sri Gosaiji and told him, "Today that Vrajbhasi boy was very hungry and was sitting in the field swearing." At that very moment, Sri Gosaiji went to the manager and the cook and told them off angrily. He had prasad sent to the boy in the fields immediately. After this, Sri Gosaiji kept a tab on the Vrajbhasi boy. He told his son, Sri Giridhaji, to make sure the boy never went hungry. Sri Gosaiji made sure that he ate only after he was sure that the boy's plate of prasad had been sent out. From that day onwards, Sri Gosaiji took very good care of the Vrajbhasi boy. Bhav Prakash. The moral of this story is that the Lord himself takes personal care of providing food to eat and water to drink to those who serve him with strong and steady love. Vaishnavas must always make sure that they serve the Lord with true and strong love for him in their hearts. Thus concludes Varta 121, the story of the Vrajbhasi boy, who was the recipient of great grace from Sri Gosaiji and Sri Govardhanaji. His story has no end. Varta 122, the story of one sannyasi from Varanasi. Bhav Prakash. This is a devotee of Sattvic disposition. In the eternal Leela, his name is Mahamaya, who manifests from Nagari and is thus a personification of her divine loving sentiment. Part 1. Once Sri Gosaiji went to Manikarnika Ghat to bathe and then sat down to perform his daily prayers. He was accompanied by many men and luggage, camping equipment, tents, palanquins and horses, etc. A sannyasi, renunciate, approached and said, "This is where I usually sit. Who is that who is sitting here to make his daily prayers?" One person told him, "This is Sri Gosaiji." The sannyasi remarked, "What kind of Gosai is he? He is surrounded by many collections of things. He should really give them all away." Sri Gosaiji heard what he had said at that very moment, called a group of Brahmins over to him and gave almost everything to them. He threw the last remaining things into the Gangaji river. Sri Gosaiji then addressed the sannyasi. "You are a sannyasi, so you really should give away your loincloth and water pot." The sannyasi replied, "If I give them away, then where will I get new ones from?" Sri Gosaiji said, "I have given so many things to the Brahmins, but you, who are a sannyasi, cannot even give away your loincloth. You are so attached to it. Do you not trust the Lord? How come you parade as a sannyasi?" Hearing this, the sannyasi felt most ashamed. At that very moment, some servants of Narayan Das from Bengal came there bearing many gifts for Sri Gosaiji, palanquins, horses and tents, etc. All came to Manikarnika Ghat. They addressed Sri Gosaiji with a message from Narayan Das. "O Maharaj, please visit us in Bengal very soon. Sri Gosaiji's wealth has all been restored as it had been before." Seeing this, the sannyasi said, "O Maharaj, you must be the Lord himself. Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, serves your feet." The sannyasi then supplicated Sri Gosaiji again and again, saying, "You are truly a Gosai. Please bless me by fulfilling my life and letting me become your disciple." Sri Gosaiji showered him with grace, saying, "Go and take a bath after cutting off your matted locks. Then I will accept you as my disciple." The sannyasi did exactly that and stood before Sri Gosaiji with folded hands. Sri Gosaiji truly fulfilled his life by initiating him with the Lord's name. The sannyasi felt very happy. After this, Sri Gosaiji partook of Mahaprasad and then brought the sannyasi a plate of Mahaprasad with his own hands. The sannyasi sat down to partake. Sri Gosaiji had his pan leaf prasad and then went to take rest. When he awoke, he told the sannyasi that he should now go on a tour of the Vraja land. The sannyasi, now a Vaishnava, proceeded to Vraj from Varanasi to go on his Vrajyatra, and after a few days he reached Mathura. He bathed at Vishram Ghat before setting off on the actual tour. When he saw the beauty of Vraj, he was delighted. He was further delighted when he had the holy sight of Sri Govardhanachi in Jetipura on the Sri Giriraj mountain at the lunchtime service. He was further most joyous when he came to Gokul and had the holy sight of Sri Thakurji there. After visiting Gokul, he returned to Varanasi. He prostrated before Sri Gosaiji, who addressed him, "O Vaishnav, you have come back after completing your tour of Vraj." He replied, "Yes, with your grace. It is impossible for me to even try to describe Vraj. It is a truly transcendental land. It is Sri Thakurji's own residence." Thereafter, the Vaishnava constantly contemplated the Vraja land in his heart. Sri Thakurji began to grant him his direct experience. Bhav Prakash. The moral of this story is that a Vaishnava needs to have full and unshakable faith in Sri Thakurji. 1. They should never be attached to any object, knowing that anything one has is only through the graceful arrangement of the Lord. Anything that one has is only through the graceful arrangement of the Lord. Vaishnava should be exclusively dependent on the Lord alone. Thus concludes Varta 122, the story of the sannyasi from Benares, who was the recipient of Sri Gosaiji's grace and an accomplished Vaishnava. There is not really an end to his tale. Thus concludes the reading for today. Sab Vaishnava ko Jai Shri Krishna. Aaj ke Anand ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.